McFarland. Welcome to the conversation with Al McFarland. Today is Friday, March 13th, 2026. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along. Uh, Friday means it's the Healing Circle, and we're joined by our leader in this work, Dr. Bravada Garrett Akansanya. She is the leader and founder of the African American Child Wellness Institute. We call her Dr. B. Dr. B, how you doing?
I am great. How are you doing, Baba Al?
Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. Good to see you. Good to be here. Sunny out right now. I guess we got some weather on the way, but for the moment, it's a it's a beautiful day.
It is, and I'm claiming every second of it.
There we go. Enjoy what we got. That's right.
That's right.
Well, we start off the healing circles with a way of centering that I love. It's a protocol that gets us connected to each other, to the universe, to the ancestors, and to those who will follow us. And you lead us in that. Would you go ahead and begin that today?
Yes, I would. I'm just so honored to be here. And I know today we have some really fabulous guests. So
Why
I
don't we
will.
bring them in for this meditation as well?
I was
So,
going to ask that we could do
yeah,
that
we
today.
should do that. Yeah. So, Robin Frazier and Carrie Eberhardt, we'll introduce you later. But we just want to bring you into this circle at this point in time. I think Lisa's going to join us as well. So, Lisa, if you're there, you're welcome to come on too. Uh, so, Dr. B, I'll hand the talking stick back to you.
Okay, thank you, Baba Al. As we sit here, I just want to welcome everybody today. And as is an African tradition, we join in circle. And although we are not physically in the same space, spiritually in our hearts, we connect with each other in circle. So I'd ask and invite people to just take a deep breath for a moment, hold it, and let it go. The stress of getting here, being here, just pull it in and let it go. I invite you to look to your right to assure your sense of safety and security. Look to your left and notice that you're safe. I invite you to even look behind, assuring that you're in a safe space and able to participate fully. I want you to notice your feet on the floor and the chair that holds you, and that you're in this space and fully present. The work you do, the work we do in community is sacred. And in this circle today, we honor you. We honor those who have come before us. So we first claim honoring of our elders, because our elders are the shoulders that we stand on. Somebody worked our way, prayed our way, dreamed and hoped our way into existence. So as we sit here, we are the embodiment of centuries of dreams. We also notice that as we are sitting in circle, there's no top, no bottom, no up or down. There's everyone has power and voice, which is the center of the circle. And as we sit in the circle, we also honor our ancestors for those of the shoulders that our elders stood on. And we honor our ancestors because they are closest to our Creator. In this circle, we know that African people are an orderly people. So we use a talking stick, a virtual talking stick that goes from one person to the other. And if the spirit moves and you need the stick, all you have to do is ask for it, and the stick will be given. So in this place, we welcome our wonderful sister guest, our listeners, and most importantly, the witnessing of our Creator, the witnessing of our future in our babies, and the witnessing of hope for health. And that I pass to Baba Al.
Thank you, Dr. B.
Well,
Well, I want to first invite people who are listening on any of the social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, for Black Press of America, Black Press USA, National Newspaper Publishers Association, and the Inside News YouTube channel. Welcome you and invite you to weigh in on the conversation. Join the conversation. Be a part of it. We're going to show a QR code on top of the screen momentarily. Capture that on your phone and click it, and we'll bring you into the studio, into the conversation. And this really is about conversation. It's about us talking to each other, recognizing that we have the answers, we are the solution, and that we are simply being ourselves in healing and sharing and in caring. And we see the healing and caring and sharing power in you as well. So with that, we invite you to be present, to be part of the conversation, to fire up the chat. We have an active chat going on all the channels as well. So if you don't have the chance to get into the actual studio with us, we invite you in. But if you can't, just hang in with us by letting us know where you are, where you're watching from, and raising questions, making comments. You can say amen if you want to, or you can say hell no. You know, if that's what you move to do. However it strikes you, be yourself. You know, that's the name of the game today and always. Well, listen, let's begin. Let me introduce our special guest, Dr. B, and then we'll ask them to sort of lay out the concern. We've been, for the past several weeks, taking deep dives, talking about dementia and the caregiving for dementia patients or people that are experiencing dementia in the Black community. And, you know, I can't think of anybody that won't say this is personal for me. And by that, I mean it's personal for me because my mom, who recently died, was a person who lived with dementia in her latter part of her life. Her mother, the same, great aunts, an uncle, a cousin. So in my family is an experience with dementia, and it also lets me know I'm pushing 70 now, to be mindful and to know that I'm a candidate. We all are, and not that there's a hereditary impact, but there's experience that we all have that we should pay attention to. So the question is, how do we make ourselves aware, knowledgeable, and able to help ourselves and others who are experiencing dementia or Alzheimer's? Well, today, our first guest is Robin Frazier. She's the Assistant Director of Dissemination for Dementia Caregiving Programming, and she's the Alter, Minnesota site leader. Her organization is the Center for Healthy Aging Innovation at the School of Public Health at the University of Minnesota. And she is an expert in ensuring that evidence-based programs reach communities that need them the most. To make them accessible and relevant, she leads the Alter Dementia Friendly program for churches and faith-based organizations. And she's a recognized leader with huge expertise and experience in aging services and health equity and culturally responsive programs, in caregiving, community advisory board development, community engagement and research and dissemination of promising practices, and evidence-based or informed interventions with what we call historically marginalized and underserved communities. That's our community, our people. And so the past 5 years, she's worked centering on bridging public health and faith-based organizations and communities. Let me say it straight. Well, Robin Frazier, so good to see you. Thank you for joining the conversation. Let me just have you go into detail on your work, your vision, your mission, and why this conversation is so important for our community today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McFarland. Appreciate it. We have been working at the University of Minnesota with the Center for Healthy Aging and Innovation on addressing the needs of the African American community, specifically the church community, to assist those families that are impacted by Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And so we started this work in 2001, and we currently have 8 churches that are enrolled in the altar program. And I'm happy to share with you and Dr. B today that we have funds to bring on 4 more communities between now and May. So if you are listening to this broadcast and you are interested in learning more about Alter, you can reach me at 763 360 7582. Again, that's Robin Frazier with Alter at 763 360 7582. And so we have openings and we want to keep growing the program. Alter program launched in 2019, and it was launched by Dr. Fayron Epps and Mia Chester. The co-founders at that time were working with Georgia State University, a HBCU, and Emory University. And the reason that they got engaged with developing the Alter program is that they spent 2 years doing education in the Black church community. And what they found is a lot of people weren't sure about what's the difference between normal aging and dementia. What type of dementias are there? A lot of people use Alzheimer and dementia as the same word, but they're different. And so they spent a lot of time working with the Alzheimer's Association and doing education in the churches. And what happened after being out almost 2 years doing that, the bishops called them up and said, okay, you've done this great education. I have caregivers that are taking care of loved ones and
Mhm.
friends. I have people living with dementia. Some of them have a diagnosis, some of them don't. So you've raised the awareness. Now, what are we going to do? How can you help me help our congregations? And so that is how the Altar program started in 2019, was to address the lack of resources and awareness in the community around Alzheimer's and dementia.
Awesome. We got a special guest. I want to have you introduce our guest, Carrie Eberhardt, and talk about the experience with one church, one of the
Mhm.
great churches, Twin Cities, that can sort of illuminate the relevance, the importance, and the power of connecting with faith-based communities.
Yes, thank you. And so, as I mentioned, we have 8 faith communities that are a part of the Altar program. And one of our many active communities is Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. And there at Greater Friendship, we've had the full support of the Reverend Dr. B. Chavez Russell. He has been been supportive of the altar program and helping the member of his congregations from day one, and signed up for the program. And he said, I'm going to need some good leaders here. We call them altar ambassadors.
Mhm.
And so at Greater Friendship, there are 2 altar ambassadors that lead the church programming that is directed to and tailored to the needs of their church. They get to pick out what areas and activities their church wants to work on. And so one of the 2 ambassadors are with us. So first I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Tanja Dye. Dr. Dye is not with us today, but she is one of the co-ambassadors, and
Mhm.
Dr. Dye leads their health and wellness ministry and is a healthcare professional. The second ambassador that we're so pleased to have here with us today is Mother Carrie Eberhardt. And Carrie has been involved now with Altar for 3 years as an ambassador. And so when churches join the Altar program, they sign a 2-year, we call it a statement of work. It's just a letter of intention that says, here's what we hope to do in our community. And 8 of the initiatives that they do are around the building and lighting and accessibility
Mhm.
to have that be age friendly and dementia friendly. And then the other 8 initiatives are selected by people like Dr. Dye and Mother Carrie, where they determine what programming they would like to do. And so, what I'd like to do is have Mother Carrie talk about how they have gotten involved with the Altar program and what type of programming they've done. Thank you, Mother Carrie.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good
Uh,
afternoon. Can
Good
you bring
afternoon.
your camera down so that you're in the middle of the frame? There we go. A little bit
Is that
more.
better?
Just a little bit more. Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I have been a part, at least our church has been a part of the altar program for 3 years now. And we, myself and Dr. Dye, we are co-ambassadors. And I am the leader of our senior ministry, which is called Joy Ministry. And that's just older youth ministry. Some of the things that we have done at Greater Friendship, we have had a Purple Sunday. And that's a Sunday where we talked about dementia. We educated our congregation. We had speakers. We wore purple. And it was geared toward programming toward our dementia members. And we wore purple ribbon to acknowledge that it was Purple Sunday. So we gave each person, upon entering, purple ribbon. And it was just a wonderful day. We had refreshments at the end of service. And it was just a wonderful day. And also we had some tables with information on dementia. So it was just a wonderful celebration and informative about dementia and Alzheimer's. And also, I participated in the annual Altar Summit down in Atlanta last year. And our pastor, B. Charvez Russell, he also participated on the national stage there. And he presented about the power of the pulpit, leadership, to do with altar and dementia. And And we have an emphasis on brain health, heart health, Alzheimer's disease. And we also have had some training of our congregation. We've had information on brain health. Again, we had a tool called Brain Health in a Box, where people could find out more information after answering a questionnaire about their own brain health and also resources to go with it. So we're happy to be part of Altar, part of informing our congregation about, dementia and Alzheimer's.
Let me take a second, Mother Carrie, just to have you stabilize your camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you on a desktop or telephone? What are you?
I'm on a telephone.
Okay, so I don't know if you can raise the camera so the camera is almost eye level with you. As opposed, right now, it's kind of on a desk or something. And if you have a way to raise it up.
Raise it.
Yeah, so that it's eye level, so the camera is looking right at your eyeglasses.
Is that it?
That's much better. Yeah, as opposed to looking up at you, looking straight eye to eye with the lens on the camera. That's what we like. Okay.
All right.
And I have to figure out how to stabilize it because you moved around quite a bit. But
I'm sorry.
Good. We could hear you and we see you and you look good and you sound good. And the work is important. The message itself is a message that's necessary. So thank you so much for that. I want to, before we finish, have you come back and talk about your organization. Greater Friendship is one of the legacy institutions in our community, an institution of great service, of just a great record. So don't let us leave this hour without lifting up Pastor Billy Sharvis and all of your colleagues at Greater Friendship. Okay, make sure we do that. Robin, let me come back. Well, Dr. B, let me pass it to you. Just questions, thoughts, impressions. What should we be listening for in this conversation?
Well, I think there are a couple of things, and thanks for the stick. I really like the way I'm hearing Sister Carrie talk about engagement, and that engagement is not just around one thing, but they kind of integrate it into an overall health model. And I'm really happy that she talks about dementia and Alzheimer's so that people know they're not the same thing. And I like that Dr. Robin is in here telling us how she's doing it, what it means, and how to integrate it. So when I'm sitting here, I'm excited because I got to tell you, my mother was my very best friend. She had 5 boys before she had me. And so she was going to name me Bravo because she was so glad to have a girl in the house. And she was a school teacher. And she said, no, those kids are going to give my baby some kind of complex about, with her name. So I know another word, bravado, which means bold and daring. She feminized it and called me Bravada. So I think about her when we're having these conversations because she did have Alzheimer's. And it was a slower moving process because she had a whole lot of good health habits that now I'm trying to realize, drinking that orange juice wasn't a bad deal. And so I'm trying to learn how to bring antioxidants into my life. But what I love about it is the spirit with which you teach. You both bring a beautiful spirit. So I think that even if I wasn't a member of Greater Missionary Baptist, I'd be looking for that place on the internet or something because I think you both kind of represent the spirit that anybody will feel when they come into the church. So it's a spirit of being a part of a family that's bigger than you. And so when I think about the work we're doing, I wish that when I was going through it with my mom, that I would have had some chocolate faces in front of me helping me make those decisions. Because when you're Black from the South, which I am, you can't tell all the time if people have your best, no matter where you are, but you can't tell all the time if people have your best interests at heart. But if you see somebody who has this spirit and they're a sister and they know what you're talking about, they share it with you, you're really apt to make better decisions. So my job today is to take this conversation back into the field of mental health, so that we understand that it's not just in our offices, but that mental health has to go past that office door, and that we are trying to heal our own community. And I love what is happening in here. I'm just so pleased with the education and the enthusiasm around it. So with that, I'm glad that you gave me the stick, Baba Al, because I was about to take it from Sister Carrie, because I was up here having church all by myself. So I appreciate where we're going in this conversation. I'll give the stick back to you, Baba Al.
Well, thank you. So, Robin Fraser, let me ask you to sort of sit more with what you started with. Just take more time exploring, the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. That's one. And why is knowing that important to faith organization? That's one question. And then I wondered, what does altar, where does the name come from? And because what phonetically comes to mind is the altar at church. It's not spelled the same way. But talk about the name, the concept.
Okay, I'll talk about the name first. And so initially when Dr. Epps and the team launched the program, it had a really long name and people just could not remember it or relate to it. And so they would say, "So tell me again what you're doing." And so really what the Altar program does, and it is playing off of the altar, and that is it is altering, if you think of it, what we know about Alzheimer's and dementia. It is altering the faith community by not having this be a topic of silence where it's taboo, because lots of times in the church people don't know that people are living with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. They also don't know who is caregiving. And so lots of times you've got a faith community that people may have been connected with 20, 30, 40 years, and you see the attendance go down and they're not actively engaged. And that is happening because we haven't made it normal to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia and address that stigma. So, what Alter does is it is altering the beliefs and perceptions around Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And it is also altering what the churches do. And so, Miss Carrie, with the examples that she shared, her church is a great example of that they are executing on the three pillars of altar. And so, when I was asked to look at this program, Dr. Gogler over the Center for Healthy Aging and Innovation said, "Robin, I know when you were working at the Alzheimer's Association, you had that focus, and the organization did, on faith communities. I really like what I am hearing from this nurse scientist, Dr. Fayron Epps, and her program, but I can't tell, do we need it here in the Twin Cities, or does it duplicate what we have?" And he also knew that we had many churches that had been working and supporting their congregation with dementia. Some of those 10, 15 years, like Wayman AME Church, but then
Mhm.
that there were new churches too. And
Mhm.
so, what I loved about Altar when I read about the program is that I think of Altar as a framework where you have, or you are building a house. And this house has three pillars to address the needs of our Black community. One pillar is education.
Mhm.
And so that's where we're helping people understand what is the difference between normal aging and what you might want to be concerned about. And so we all lose our keys sometimes. I walk into a room and it's like, why am I here? Okay, I'll come back. But it's when it's happening at a frequency and pace that you're not able to do the things that you used to do, and you um are, just kind of caught in that space of not being able to execute on some of those things. And so I often share the story of my uncle who developed Alzheimer's. And after he retired, he worked so many years. He didn't even retire till he was, I think, almost 80. He always loved his peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so he started calling his wife, asking her how to fix it. And she goes, "Oh, honey, you're just missing me because you're retired. You know how to fix it." And he called again, and the calls started increasing. And she thought he was joking. But when you think about making that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it
Mhm.
has many steps to it. Where is the bread? Where is the jelly? Where is the knife? How are you putting all of that together? And so at first, for a long time, they weren't aware that he was having symptoms disrupting his life where he wasn't able to make his favorite meals. So, all of the churches that enroll in the 2 year altar program, they do that training so that you can recognize what the symptoms are, and also so that you can understand that dementia is not a diagnosis. And also, not everyone is going to get dementia. So I see people sometimes running from me at the church. No, I ain't got it. I'm like, you probably don't, but you might know somebody that does, but they take off. And so, what we want people to know is we want to get them into their doctor, and when they start to see changes, because dementia is an umbrella of symptoms.
Mhm.
And so, the most prevalent disease associated with dementia is Alzheimer's dementia. And that makes up 60 to 80% of the dementia cases. But
Mhm.
like with my mother, she had vascular dementia,
Mhm.
always had the high blood pressure, the mini strokes. There's the frontal temporal dementia, where you see that change in personality, where a person was always gentle, kind, and now they're having behavior that
Mhm.
you are afraid of, that they'll display that out in public. So you start isolating them. So, what every altar partner does is does education around the disease, and they also do education to help the caregivers communicate and deal with the behaviors, so the caregivers are empowered to know what's going on, what to expect, and then they can advocate for their loved ones. So that pillar one is education. The second pillar is support. And many of our churches have their own support group, or they join the support group led by Miss Tuesday Glover at Volunteers of America,
Mhm.
because people can definitely empathize when you tell them that you're a caregiver, but there's something even deeper in terms of that spiritual connection and support when they are on a similar journey. And so, people being able to be with other caregivers and also people living with dementia in the early stages, being able to talk to others, those are important. So, sometimes our churches are doing memory cafes or support groups or activities. And
Mm-hmm.
then the last pillar is the spiritual pillar. And we know that the caregivers and people living with dementia, they're not going to be able to do a 2 hour church service
Right.
or start in the morning with the Bible study and have the break and have the church service, and then there's another program. And so the churches, they have different ways they provide spiritual support. Sometimes they will shorten the service, and that's what Reverend Russell did when they had their Purple Sunday. It was a shortened service so people living with the disease and caregivers knew that they were trying to keep that service at about 75 minutes. Some pastors are taping short messages, like 10-minute messages that include not the new hip hop gospel, those types of things, but the songs that
Mm-hmm.
people grew up with, and then they have their message. So what the altar program does is it helps the church do a needs assessment and finds out, they can find out where attitudes are, how their congregation is impacted. And then no two churches have the exact same initiatives. They get to pick those initiatives. And what's beautiful is that Dr. Epps and the team, they have, we've got a binder of training that we do, a 4 hour training, and we have a community guidebook. So when you want to do Purple Sunday, you don't start from scratch. You can open up the guidebook and it'll tell you step by step. Get your committee together and have some education. And so, what this allows us to do is have churches be there to support their congregation and members of their community that may have stepped away because they didn't feel the church at that time was dementia friendly or age friendly, and bring them back into that loving fold that is often the second place. But they do that by doing these initiatives. They have 2 years to do them, and we don't rush them. And the beauty is there's no cost to the altar program. So here in Minnesota, our geriatrics workforce enhancement program funds me, my colleague Ashley, and also the funding for our churches. So each church receives a stipend. It depends upon the number of churches coming in. Right now, we're looking at $1,100. They don't have to show any receipts or anything for that. What they do is we write the check to the church, and then it's available to the ambassadors and the volunteers, and they can use it for their launch to tell the church about the altar program. They can do something special for caregivers, or give them something so that they can have a dinner out or maybe go to a spa. But we let each church determine what works best for their community. And so I'm just so excited about this. I tell people, they'll be like, "You're always working on altar." And I said, it's not a job. I view it as a ministry.
Yeah.
And how blessed I am that the work that I need to do is helping others. And
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time in corporate and other places. So it's been the last 11 years, but it just feels like home. And so we want to get information out about Alter. Since I'm on my phone, I'm not able to put things in the chat, but the website is Alter, Alter, dementia.com. And if you go to that website, You will be able to learn about the program, and I will go anywhere, day, night, evening, or weekend, and share information because we have the funds to help churches become dementia friendly and inclusive and supportive of their older adults and the families that are impacted by this. You know, the church is a safe place. It's been always where you go for the most difficult things. One of the things upcoming is the Altar Summit. It's open to the public. The Altar Summit, it is April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We have 5 churches coming out of our 8 churches here in Minnesota. And that's where we go and we learn about the research. We're able to talk to caregivers, find out what programs are helping people. And then our churches, when we get back here, we share that information and we will bring a program here. Like, for example, we're going to bring a story about a Black family and their mother that was heavily involved with civic engagement before she developed Alzheimer's. And her children have now formed a nonprofit, and it's called the Mama Joe Project. And that will be here on July 13th. And Dr. Epps is coming in, Beverly Berry from the Alzheimer's Association, my leader, Dr. Joe Gogler, and others. And what they are going to do is we're going to watch the film together at the Trilon Theater. We're going to have popcorn and beverages, and then we're going to have the panel and have a discussion. And everybody's leaving with a bag of resources to help them and help their families and people in their community. So I just want to mention the other churches. For this one, we do have plans to have some of the other ones join, but some of the other churches involved with the altar program include Progressive Baptist Church, St. Albans Church, Pilgrims Baptist Church, the Walker West Amazing Grace, Dementia Choir, also Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, and St. Peter's and Wayman AME. So we have churches in Minneapolis and in St. Paul that are there. And you can go to those churches and learn about their ministry. But it is going to be that place, as Dr. B mentioned, where you can get some support and they can bring in those trusted professionals to do the education and help families.
Dr. B, would you talk about stigma and what our community's experience is, what our either understanding of lack of understanding means to ordinary people? Because I think that I recall, I've said this before, growing up, maybe I was 5, 6 years old, when Aunt Della at the house we lived in, we had like 3 generations in one big brownstone in Kansas City, Missouri, where I grew up. And my grandma and one of her sisters or her aunt were on the 2nd floor. My mom and dad and big sister and I were in the 3rd floor kitchenette. And then the owner of the house, who was like the patriarch of the family, Mr. Powell, and his family lived on the main floor and in the basement. Aunt Della was kept under lock and key in one of the rooms on the 2nd floor. I just remember this as a kid, as a 5, 6 year old, that they would bring her out from time to time. I'm not sure how often it was. I just have a memory of her being brought out of the room when they went in and cleaned the room up because it was just messed up because she was, and so we just thought Aunt Della crazy. Yeah, that's kind of all we knew and all we felt. And I remember her being in a rocking chair, just rocking, then rocking forward and falling on the floor. I think she died that day. I don't know. Maybe she didn't, but that was my 5-year-old perception. So the question of stigma comes from that experience of how we handle. So two things. One is that the family was taking care of Aunt Bella. That's number one. But there still was this issue of her being different. So
Mhm.
what does stigma mean? What does understanding, what can it mean and should mean for us, Dr. B?
Thank you so much. I'm glad to get the stick. I think when we talk about stigma, the largest feeling associated with stigma is shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an acronym for shame, and it's secretly hiding all my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when we hold shame, we become inoperable. We become paralyzed, and we become afraid that people will judge us for what we do, who we are, how we come across the world. So stigma then creates such shame that we lock away our thoughts and our feelings, and we stay in a space called denial. And only after symptoms get progressively worse do we go and present for help when we can't do it anymore on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear about someone who may have a mental health disorder or dementia or whatever is different, locked up in a room, I know that's what Black folks used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we didn't send them to nursing homes, because that was another big area of shame, that you not doing your childly sibling and child duty by keeping your parent at home. So we still fight all of these senses of shame. And the way I think we can overcome it is to bring light to it
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I love it when we talk about it before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And if we talk about it with our parent or anybody in our lives who could potentially, which could be any of us, who could potentially experience some form of dementia, if we talk about its existence and what would you want to do and how would you want me to treat you? Because I remember when my mom got progressively worse, and my brother was keeping her and he couldn't do that, and I couldn't keep her. And so we ended up putting her in a high-powered, nice nursing facility. But you know what? They didn't bathe my mama to like she bathed. They didn't have her nails done and her hair did like she would have done had she not had dementia. So I became angry, understanding that as a caregiver, you can't do that all. So you need to seek
Yeah.
help. And you should not be ashamed that you can't do it all, because that's why we're in a thing called we're not born alone. That's why we're born in a thing called family. And that's why families live in a thing called community. And that's why community is in a thing called society. So we impact it. Breaking that shame is the first step. The other thing I was going to say, they just reminded me, and I don't want us to leave without us saying that if you normalize the discussion, it makes it easier for people to talk about it.
Yes.
So ACWI has a program, and our first place to hit were all the churches we could find. I think we got about 11 of them signed up. But we are going to do a program called A Wing and a Prayer. So after church, you come on, the pastor will pray for you. We are psychologists and mental health providers. We'll be doing dementia screenings for free, the quick type, and making referrals. And after you go through that, the preacher talk to you. We do that 5-minute screening. Honey, you get you some wings. And they're not cheap wings, they're good wings. So I've seen people go out to the parking lot and bring folks in. Girl, I heard there's some wings. Where are those wings? So it's really important to integrate it. Another innovative thing we're doing is, because it's the African American Child Wellness Institute. And I love the memory that Baba Al just brought about, because the experience of any form of dementia, especially Alzheimer's, among children can't be a subject that we don't talk about, because then they'll make stuff up.
Yes.
So we're creating a series of games that kids can play with their grandma and grandpa that facilitate thought and memory and sharing. So we're doing it so that from that child area all the way up to the adulthood, we begin to dismantle shame and guilt and replace it with what you sisters are doing: education, empowerment, love, and joy.
No.
So I'm glad you gave me that chance to say that, Baba Al. And I think we've said a bunch about what stigma does. It paralyzes us.
Mhm.
So I would like to give the talking stick to Mama Carrie, because she's been sitting there doing amen, and I know she's got something to say.
Oh,
So here you go, sister.
Before you do, let me shout out Hillary Thomas for his liking the program. Hillary, thank you. Thank you for watching and your comments. Let me shout out my daughter, Batala McFarland, who gave us a big heart, a like heart. Also, Brother Anura C. Asar, Brother Lloyd T. Lockett, Sister Azaria Kennebrew, and Brother John Martin. Thank all of you for sharing your thoughts and your reaction and giving us some love. And also thank another comment from one of our regular viewers here, the Big Cheese. He says the FBA family, Foundation of Black American Family, must build our own hospitals and elderly care facilities because nonprofit FBA groups don't have the love. Now, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And I think we just have to have the conversation. Mother Carrie, let me pass the talking stick to you now.
okay. Thank you. Our pastor, Pastor B. Chavez Russell, he is all on board with Altar. He gets so excited. He, like I said, he attended the summit, and he was part of a panel that answered questions about how the pulpit connects with Altar. And so we just have his full support. And we're looking forward to another Purple Sunday in June this year. Our members, we've tried, and we just still educate them as part of one of our Joy events. We have our seniors at our church have 4 events a year. And so one of our events, we talked about Altar and also dementia and Alzheimer's. And we have a few of our members that have dementia, and we show them love, and we invite them to our Purple Sunday. We go to visit them, and we just do our best to show them that we care, that they are not left alone. My sister had dementia, and I took care of her for 4 years. And so I do understand the importance of that stigma that we were just talking about. So we just want people to understand that it's okay. It's okay to bring those members to church.
Yes.
And we, and if they can't, and we have, there are 4 on our team. There are 2 ambassadors, and then we have 2 team members that work with us. And so we have talked to our ushers and our hospitality ministry. And if they see something, you know, if somebody is not having a good day, for them to let us know, or for them, they know what to do. Maybe take them to the overflow room or something. So we are working on it. And thanks to Mrs. Fraser and Altar, we are improving.
Yes.
We're getting the word out. And like she said, it's good to let them know before it's too late, while at the beginning, so that they can get help, while they, before it gets to the point where they can't. So education is the key. And so
Yeah.
we're working on that, Brother Al.
Thank you. Let me update. I think Big Cheese updated their post, unless I read it wrong the first time, but let me read it again. The Foundational Black American Family must build our own hospitals and elderly care facilities because non-FBA groups don't have the love. I think either I read it wrong or didn't see it right, or either you changed it. I think you modified it. And I get what you're saying now, and I agree with you that we in our community must assume the responsibility and trust the genius within us and the healing power
Yes.
within us, because this is about our own family. And it's a question of understanding and exercising the spirit of sovereignty over our bodies, our culture, our community, and our humanity. And we both deserve it, and we must do it. We got a few minutes still, and if you are listening on LinkedIn or Facebook or either of the YouTube channels, you can still be here. Leave a note like Hillary Thomas did, or like Michelle Madison did. Michelle said her 87-year-old mother is going through the early stages of dementia. That her mother was one of the first Black female police officers in Baltimore during the 60s. Shout out to you, Michelle, and to your family, and thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being a loyal and regular supporter, visitor, commenter on the conversation and the healing circle.
That's right.
But if you want to join the conversation, again, 5 minutes or so, click on the URL or the QR code at the top of the screen. And if you show up there, we'll bring you in. We'd love to have your voice. Robin, did we go through all of these flyers? I want to make sure that everything that we brought as collateral material gets properly presented. Let me just put a couple of things up again.
And I wanted to make sure that we say where people can get the materials.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure we
Well,
at
do
least
that,
give a
and then
website or something.
walk us through these again, if you would, Robin, this one in particular.
Yes. And so this is the flyer about the Alter Dementia Summit. And so if you go to alterdementia.com, you'll see at the top where you can click and get information about the summit, which is going to bring together over 350 pastors, caregivers, researchers, all of those people that are working on Alzheimer's and dementia, and that are looking to, learn more and go back and apply that. You can also reach me at my number, and I'm happy to send you this information. That number again is 763-360-7582. And I've always got my phone, and we will let you know about that. And in terms of one of the areas that we want to mention, and this flyer does it here. This is a flyer that Dr. Epps took to the Capitol when she met with the senators and people in the House of Representatives. And what we know is that, unfortunately, in terms of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, we are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. And it is estimated that by 2030, which is now right around the corner, that 40% of the people living with this disease will be African American and Latino. So, and we know part of the reason for that is linked back to our cardiovascular things. So, those things that are good for your heart, good for your brain, anything that's interrupting that, we know the importance of managing chronic diseases like diabetes and others, and also taking care of our mental health, the work that Dr. B does, that is so important for us and for our children. But part of what the Alter churches do is they are sharing the latest information on how do you develop reduce your risk of developing dementia. And there's
Mhm.
new studies coming out. We'll have to come back and talk with you, Mr. McFarland and
Absolutely.
Dr. B, because we'd like to just share what is that new information on how we can reduce the risk. Because I'm
Mhm.
not happy with a scenario where we live more of life suffering and then we're dying early. Sometimes
Teach
Yeah.
that
now.
may be 15 or
Teach.
20 years.
Mhm.
So, how are we advancing and passing on generational wealth and these other things when we sit in that silence and shame? And what's important now is that while we don't have a cure, with early identification, you can delay the progression of the
Mhm.
disease and help manage the symptoms. So the caregiver and the person has a better quality of life. So I told people, I don't want to hear anymore. I don't need to know nothing. Ain't nothing a cure. It may not be a cure, but if your loved one can live and delay this disease
Mhm.
Mhm.
and live better with it,
Mhm.
that's that quality of life there for all. And we will get to see people working with dementia, driving with dementia. When I met the people at the Alzheimer's Association, their early stage group, they were showing me how to do things. But because we delay, we wait until the point of crisis.
That's
So
Yeah.
right.
nobody wants to say anything. They gonna move somebody into my house and they ain't got a job. They're going to take my money. They're going to
Mhm.
take my keys. It doesn't have to be that way. When we get this early, there are people that live with this disease
Mhm.
15 years. Your life does not need to change overnight. So we want to come back and talk about reducing that risk because it's not acceptable that we have twice the pain and suffering.
Dr. B, can you close us out? This has been wonderful. Sister Robin and Mother Carrie, powerful, wonderful. Dr. B?
Yeah, I would like to close this out. And as we've been talking a bit about church and its movement into health, it's always been there. I thought
Yes.
about how on the cross that as Jesus was handling his business, one of the first things he said to Mary is, Mary, here's your son, to John. And he said, John, here's your mother. So these parents are all of our parents.
Yes.
These the ones who have Alzheimer's or dementia or frontal temporal lobe problem, they are all our family. And when we close this circle today, I want everybody to remember that if we help one another,
Mhm.
no one will be left alone.
Yes.
It's too many of us to have people having family members needing cooking or ironing or helping to clean, and we don't see it or hear it. Finally, there's a Navajo proverb that says, you can't awake a person who's pretending to be asleep. So today, if somebody's sitting up here, they cannot walk out now and pretend to be asleep because you let. And so I want people to know you came in here, maybe not knowing, not feeling, but you can't walk out the same way you walked in.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I thank you. I say Ashe, which means thank you. And Yoruba, I say Ashe to our elders, to all those spirits that we carry in our spirit, in our heart. I say Ashe because this is what healing looks like. This is what Kuji Chagalia, self-determination looks like. This is what love and Marua, respect. This is what it looks like. And we can do it after this. Thank y'all, sisters. Drop the mic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.